I'm going to throw away my Roman philosophy question.
Yeah,
put her down
please.
right there.
I didn't do well with Roman philosophy.
I want you to meet retired General Hampton McManus. He served 34 years in the U.S. Army in peacetime and during war. He says he's still deciding between you and Governor Kasich. General, thank you.
Senator Rubio, many would argue that we're not only electing a president this cycle, but our commander-in-chief to lead America in dealing with some very demanding national security issues ahead.
Yes, sir.
What has prepared you the most for this very critical mission, and what strengths are your foundation for the trust and confidence our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines must have in you as their commander-in-chief?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you for your service, and I want to take this opportunity to thank all the veterans in South Carolina and across the country for the service they've provided to our country. It is not just electing the commander-in-chief. That is the most important job of the president. The president doesn't run the economy. The private sector does. The president can be an advocate for legislative action that helps the economy grow. But national security and commander-in-chief is the most important job of a president. I say this to you without any reservation. I know I haven't lived as long as some of the people running for president. But no one running for president, especially on the Republican side, has more experience on national security or foreign policy than I do. As both a member of the Intelligence Committee and the Foreign Relations Committee, over the last 5 years, I have been dealing with every single major issue that this country confronts, and I understand these issues well. I have a record of good judgment on those issues. In 2011, when Muammar Gaddafi was facing his overthrow in Libya, I argued that if that became a protracted conflict, it would leave a vacuum that would be filled by jihadists, and that's exactly what's happened. In 2012, when Bashar al-Assad was facing the threat of being overthrown in Syria, I warned that if we didn't empower non-jihadist rebels in Syria, they would be killed or exiled, and that vacuum that it left behind would be filled by a radical jihadist group. And that's what's happened with Jabhat al-Nusra and now ISIS. When ISIS emerged and crossed over into Iraq, from the very beginning, I warned that they would become a major threat if not confronted and defeated immediately. The president called them the JV team. Well, today they have affiliates in over a dozen countries. And they, by the way, we saw what they did in San Bernardino, what they inspired in Paris as well. And so over the last 5 years that I've been involved in foreign policy and national security, I have proven time and again that I have both the judgment and the experience to make the right decisions and the right call on these issues. The hardest vote I've ever taken in my time in the Senate was a vote to authorize the use of force in Syria. Talked about this in the debate the other night. It is the most difficult vote you'll ever take in Congress. And when Bashar al-Assad gassed his own people and poisoned them, President Obama announced that he would not take military action unless we, in Congress, authorized the use of that force. And so I was angry when I saw the images. I'm sure you saw the same images. As a father, I looked at these pictures of little children curled up, some dead already, because their own leader used poison gas and biological agents against them. And I was outraged, and I wanted us to exact revenge on him. And then I looked at what the president was proposing, something that John Kerry later called an attack that would be unbelievably limited. That attack that the president wanted to carry out, I concluded after looking at it, would be counterproductive. It actually would have empowered Assad, because all he was going to do is a symbolic strike. Assad was going to emerge from it saying, I took on the U.S. and held on. It would have empowered him. It would have made him stronger, not weaker. And so no matter how angry I was, I concluded that I would not vote to authorize the use of force. And it was a tough decision, because what I had seen in those images that outraged us all. And so I can look at that field of candidates running today and tell you without any hesitation that no one running as a Republican has shown better judgment or has more experience on national security or on foreign policy than I do.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you, General.
I just want to follow up with that. Just a quick follow-up. As you know, Governor Bush, again, continued his line of attack on you, saying you're inexperienced. What do you say to Republicans in South Carolina who say, look, do we really want another first-term senator in the White House?
Sure. Well, I would just tell you that I believe Barack Obama is a failed president, not because he was a one-term senator. Barack Obama today has 7 years of presidential experience. There's only 2 people in the world that have more experience than he does being president, George W. Bush and Bill Clinton. And today, 7 years after he became president, he is worse in his 7th year than he was in his first. So clearly, experience was not the issue. The reason why he's failed as a president is because his ideas don't work. His philosophy, his ideology is a failed one. I also think it's unfair to say I have no experience. I have 15 years of experience of turning conservative ideas into conservative action. I served 8.5 years in the Florida legislature, not as a backbencher, but as a leader. We've been talking about eminent domain recently in the campaign. Florida has some of the best eminent domain laws in the country. You know who passed that law? I did. I was the Speaker of the Florida House. As Speaker of the Florida House, we brought career academies to our schools. That means today, Students in high schools in Florida graduate not just with a high school diploma, but certified to work as welders, plumbers, electricians, pipe fitters, in vocational training because of what we put in. We reduced property taxes because I led the effort to do that. We brought the Harlem's Children's Zone model into the inner city of Miami. It's now spread into Orlando, into Jacksonville because of my efforts. We reformed our curriculum without Common Core, without the federal government. And in my time in the U.S. Senate, despite the fact the Senate has not been the most active place in the world over the last 5 years, because I led the effort in a bipartisan way, we imposed sanctions on Hezbollah. We got rid of the Obamacare bailout fund. Today, we have the Girls Count Act I passed on a bipartisan basis, which leverages U.S. foreign aid to take on the scourge of human trafficking and modern-day slavery around the world. I led the effort and we imposed sanctions on human rights in Venezuela. So I'm proud of what I've achieved, but my campaign is not about the past, it's about the future, about what we're going to do. And I can say this to you without any hesitation whatsoever. I am as conservative as anyone running for president, but I am a 15-year conservative who has proven time and again the capability and the willingness to take conservative ideas and turn them into conservative solutions.